Well, our first guest today is somebody that needs no introduction, really, but we're very polite here at Birmingham Business TV, so we're going to give her one anyway. Henrietta Brealey, Chief Executive of Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce. Welcome. We were talking just a little bit before we started filming about how long it was ago that you joined the Chamber for the second time, which is the last time I interviewed you, which was 6 years ago now. So
it was indeed around 2016.
A lot of water under the bridge since then.
Yes, yeah.
How much has your job changed from then to now?
Well, it's funny because 2016 was obviously all about the run-up to the EU referendum and then post-EU referendum. So I think it's safe to say there's been a crisis to crisis since then. But it's all just made what we do around engaging businesses and amplifying their views all the more interesting and probably more important as well.
But the issues in themselves, they don't change that much, do they? Is it just the order of priority in the shopping list that moves around?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a fundamental which comes around every now and then, which is the cost of doing business. And at the moment, that's much more important than it has been over the past few years, because we've seen a lot of things come together at once. So energy crisis, wider inflation, rising from supply chain difficulties and changes, labour market shortages leading to salary increases, etc. So all sorts of things coming together at once on that cost of doing business side, which very much is making it top of the list, but not the only thing on businesses' lists at the moment.
Go on then, tell me some more.
There's always plenty more. So there's some real positives as well as challenges. So there's a lot around future of regional growth and what that's going to look like and the role that businesses can play with the right environment from government in enabling that growth, skilling the next generation, making sure that we're in the best possible place to succeed and thrive as a community with the businesses at the heart of it. So that's another positive one there. Net zero is an interesting one. There's some real positives to come from that transition to net zero. It's a bit of an imperative in terms of climate change, but also looking at those challenges of transitioning to net zero for individual businesses and then the opportunities they can find as they do so to get ahead of the pack and build their resilience.
Because net zero is quite interesting, isn't it? You know, new Prime Minister in place this week, Liz Truss, you know, during the hustings, was talking about maybe some of the incentives, the green levies, they might be kicked into touch for a little bit while we're worrying about the cost of living crisis. So is there a concern that that might move a bit further down the agenda in importance for businesses now?
Well, it's not moving down the agenda in importance for businesses, which is the interesting one. And actually, if you look at things like the energy crisis, it's bringing up front and centre how you can save energy and become more efficient in terms of energy as a business, much more important than ever. But it's also something that we're still seeing from a range of different stakeholders that they're pushing down their supply chains. So we're seeing it from local authorities, combined authorities, international bodies, more and more expecting individual businesses to take their commitment to becoming more sustainable seriously. And that in turn is then encouraging those businesses in that supply chain to pass it on to their suppliers and customers. So still very much seeing it as a priority area for the business community. And in fact, we're bringing back our Sustainable Business series in September into October, which is all around sharing that best practice for SMEs on what that transition to net zero looks like and how to get ahead of the pack on some of those opportunities as well, because there really are for those businesses that are early adopters of technology or new ways of doing businesses, opportunities to get ahead of the game, as well as look at how they can change for, like I say, that more moral and environmental imperative of the climate crisis.
I guess from one point of view, the fact that we've got spiralling energy costs, you know, and we hope the government's got a bit of a plan this week to help everyone out, that puts it into closer focus, the importance of trying to find different ways of running your business, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's two bits there. There's the piece around how really urgent it is that the government does intervene when it comes to energy costs, because the stories we're hearing from individual businesses now, it's just horrendous. And it's the slight challenge we have is not all businesses are experiencing this at the same time. So, you know, if they are still in contract on their current energy deal, they're probably not feeling it too badly. If their contract came up at a time where energy costs were increasing, but it was still manageable, they're doing okay. Those that are coming up right now, we're hearing stories from businesses who are being quoted sort of 300% increases. We've got a large arts organisation who's been quoted £1 million additional on their annual energy costs, which they just can't find it. That you know, the challenge of trying to get an additional £1 million either in increased revenue, cost cutting, wherever it is, that's not doable for the vast majority of businesses.
Well,
it
stifles a lot of entrepreneurs in wanting to take a risk, doesn't it, as well? So
yeah, absolutely. So that piece that we're really looking for from the government is that short term, how do you keep some of that cash in businesses? So those measures around things like cutting VAT for hospitality, another industry that's being hard hit by increased energy costs, reversing that national insurance increase, and looking at measures around, say, like business rates and other ways of retaining income in businesses shorter term to manage those increased overheads. And then longer term, it's those pieces like, actually, does there need to be a bigger role for the regulator in managing business energy? and does there need to be something around that domestic supply to ensure that long-term security of energy for the country as well, and what that whole system is going to look like into the future. So those short and long-term measures is where we're really looking for.
Now, the Greater Birmingham Chambers, you carry out your quarterly business survey, in fact the report's here, to gauge the mood, really, don't you, of the business community, which feeds then into the national picture. How different is Birmingham compared to some of the other areas of Britain? Are there some areas where we've got more of an opportunity, more of a threat, more of a concern?
So an interesting one with the region is actually international trade. So the West Midlands is traditionally a big trading region. You know, we were previously, pre-pandemic, very proud of being a net exporter. And we've also been one of the region's hardest hit by the falls in international trade, partly because of our automotive sector. There's lots been well-publicised challenges there in terms of semiconductor shortages and whatnot, which, knock on wood, does sound like it's easing a lot of those supply chain and logistics issues. But we're certainly still not back up to where we were pre-pandemic in terms of international trade opportunities. And that's one of the metrics that we track with our quarterly business report. And we're actually doing a special focus on international trade with our International Trade Conference, where we'll be launching an International Trade Index to dig into that in much more detail, because it's been a sort of core part of the region and even the Chamber since our inception. As a bit of a fun fact for you, the Chamber was founded in 1813, and one of the reasons it was founded was because the workshops of Birmingham were clubbing together to lobby for greater access to European markets following the Napoleonic Wars.
Some may say what goes around comes around, mightn't they? So,
yeah, you know what you're saying earlier about how those business issues come back around again. Certainly seeing a bit of that at the moment, but that sort of international role for chambers themselves, but also the local business community, and in that very sort of external global facing is very much a central one for us at the moment.
So do you think the impact of Brexit has been less severe, more severe than was maybe predicted? Because when COVID came onto the agenda, Brexit sort of understandably slipped down the agenda, and we maybe didn't analyse it in quite so much micro detail as we would have done otherwise, didn't we?
Well, to be fair, it doesn't take that much analysis to see that trade with the EU's fallen since Brexit. And you speak to individual businesses and it's easy to understand why, because it was pretty much as simple as shipping something to, say, Scotland, when you're part of the European Union and the Customs Union, and now there's a heck of a lot of admin and documentation to be done. Good news is, for businesses that are doing a lot of it, you can learn how to do it. It's still not right, we're still not being fair, sort of looking at how we can smooth some of those trading relationships into the future. But short term, we're putting on a lot of support for businesses through funded programmes on Brexit. So we've got free training courses, 3 workshops, a bit of custom support helpline, supported by the West Midlands Combined Authority across 3 chambers in the West Midlands, so Greater Birmingham, Coventry and Warwickshire and Black Country. So it's one of those that for businesses who are still getting stuck and bogged down in some of that paperwork and need that bit of extra support for how to get there are some good things available.
And are people back fully out and about on the networking circuit, do you feel now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we had a bit of a bumper start to the networking scene this year, if you like, with our Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce Awards, which
That's
we
huge,
ran in
isn't it?
March. Yeah. And we ran it in March. We're mostly promoting it into around sort of October, November, where it feels like a very long time ago now, but you remember concerns about Omicron were top of the list, and are we going to be even able to do events in the new year? And we persevered and we sold out. I think we had about 1,250 people there on the night and a huge buzz in the room, which has been a great sort of burst back into the scene for business networking. So yeah, we're absolutely seeing it. Some of the patterns have changed. You don't want to do events on a Monday or Friday, for instance. There's still plenty of home working going on.
I was never keen on a Friday afternoon one, anyway, I've got to be fair. So, what about, so you're talking to all of your members, very diverse range of sectors on a regular basis. Give us a few examples, boil down, give us a snapshot of what's happening in Birmingham at the moment.
We've got some really lovely things happening in Birmingham at the moment. We've got some fantastic companies that are seeing a lot of opportunities in growth and investing in really interesting things. So, for instance, you take a company like Salts Healthcare, who are one of the oldest family-owned businesses in the country. I think they were founded in the 1700s and are still in the Salts family. But they've recently opened an innovation centre where they're investing in innovation in their Meditech products, which is quite an exciting move for them and something that's really cementing their role as a leader in that market. We've also got companies who are finding interesting ways of dealing with some of the challenges at the moment. So we've got labour market issues. Obviously, there's a lot of companies saying recruiting pretty tough right now. In fact, if you go into any networking event and go, what's on your mind, everyone? Almost everyone, first thing they'll say is people. It is tough out there at the moment. But we've got lovely examples of actually just up the road in Lichfield. I was with the Boat Inn and Liam Dillon, who's the chef owner there, there. And he's about to launch a schools programme where they're working with his old school, as it happens, to put 1 year paid placements for students to help them learn the trade, see all different aspects of working for a really high quality restaurant with a sort of top chef who's appeared on TV. And yes, they get a bit of staff support with that as well, adding to the workforce, but a lot of it is their development and opportunities to see what it's like to work in the hospitality sector, so building those pipelines of talent. Then you flip it and you have got some real challenges. So again, sticking with hospitality, we've got a lovely chamber member who's done the math, and just since February, their overheads, when you take into account cost of food going up 15%, cost of beverages going up 10%, cost of electricity going up 68%, just that and a bit on salary costs as well. Their overheads have gone up by 92k a year, which is huge when you think that's a 6-month period. So at the moment, it really is those two sides, those businesses who are going, we're seeing opportunities, and those who are really being hit by a lot of the challenges that are hitting the headlines at the moment.
And you've just got to balance all of that, put it into the melting pot, the good, the bad, the ugly, the optimistic, and feed it all into government, haven't you? Lots on your plate, obviously. You'll come back and tell us more, I'm sure, won't you, over the course of our series. Thank you so much for coming in, and good to catch up. I can't believe it was 6 years ago. Henrietta, thank you very much. Lots more to come on Birmingham Business TV. We're going to take a quick break.